So hi everyone, welcome to the 11th Flutter Kenya webinar. Thank you so much guys for joining us, and we are super excited today for today's session. Today we have a very interesting topic. So let's have this scenario. We have covered a lot about what is currently possible in Flutter. We have seen great applications developed using Flutter for Android and iOS and also web, really showing how good Flutter is. But what about the upcoming features? Will Flutter power almost everything with a screen? So in this session, we're having Sam Baraka, who is also a co-organizer for Flutter Developers Kenya and also a really great community lead who will be speaking to us and discussing about the future of Flutter and many of its endless potentials. Thank you so much, Sam Baraka, for coming to speak to us about this, and let's learn from you. So please take the lead and tell us more about future possibilities in Flutter. Thank you, Sam. You're welcome.
Okay, hi everyone. So welcome to this webinar, and yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you guys about what's upcoming in Flutter, and I hope you're also excited. So let's get started. So I think Candy, you can help in admitting the people to the call. So today we're going to talk about the future of Flutter. So let me do a brief introduction of myself first. My name is Samuel Baraka. I'm an app developer. I love Flutter. My main interest is software and game development, and I also have other interests outside software, which are space exploration, energy, especially sustainable energy, artificial intelligence. So you can find me on Twitter using this Twitter handle, or GitHub or GitLab, anywhere, Instagram, everywhere. And also run Flutter University on YouTube. So that's basically me. And yeah. So for those who don't know what Flutter is, I know most of you know what Flutter is, but let me just remind you guys. Flutter is Google's user interface toolkit for building beautiful natively compiled applications for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. By native compilation, that means that the apps are built straight into the instruction set that is used for a particular device. For example, in mobile devices, we see the ARM processors. ARM processors are these low power processors which are efficient and powerful, but to run on less power compared to other processors. So Flutter can, in mobile devices like the iPhones and phones, is compiled straight into the ARM code, meaning the app will have native performance. For web, the app will be compiled to JavaScript to optimize JavaScript, which will run well on the web. And for desktop, in 2019, we've seen most desktop operating systems run on the x86 architecture from Intel, the Intel processors and the AMD processors. So also Flutter on the desktop is compiled straight into the instructions for the x86 Intel architecture that's used on 90% of desktop operating systems. A disclaimer for today. Today, I'll show you guys a couple of demos, but just to disclaimer that the demos you see in this call today, in this webinar today, are highly experimental. So you should not really use it for production as yet, because we're going to use a Flutter channel which is not yet stable, and it's not advised to use something into production. You can experiment, but what I'm going to show you today is just a preview of what's coming. Okay, so how does Flutter work? So I think we've all seen how Flutter has works on Android and iOS. Most of us have dealt with it because that's the stable one, and it renders every widget, every item that appears on the screen in its own high performance rendering engine, C++ engine, and that's basically why the Flutter apps are fully native and have native performance. Yeah, because the Flutter doesn't use a bridge or web views to render the widgets. So on to the topic of the day, the future of Flutter. So on to the future of Flutter. So as currently Flutter, we have the stable channel, we have the master channel, we have the alpha, and the technical preview. So on the stable version of Flutter, we have the Flutter for Android, Flutter for iOS, which has been stable since early last year, and since Flutter 1.0 was released last year, early last year. And yeah, as per now on the Google Play Store, we have more than 50,000 apps using Flutter, powered by Flutter, and it's continuing to grow, about getting to 60,000 so far. And yeah, in a few years, I think Flutter will dominate the Play Store. Yeah, that's just a statistics I had researched before. We have the beta channel of the Flutter SDK. So what's on beta is Flutter for Web, and meaning it's almost ready for release, but not yet. So it's not advised to build something for production on Flutter for Web. The alpha part of the Flutter SDK, you have Flutter for macOS and Flutter for Linux. Yeah, so I think Flutter for macOS was the first one to be pushed into alpha because macOS and iOS are closely related, so it was easier for them to push Flutter for macOS, because it's just like copying and pasting from the iOS side to the macOS, but doing a few tweaks. Flutter for Linux also joined the alpha stage a few months ago, and we have the last one, Flutter on Windows, which is on technical preview. So Flutter on Windows is still in technical preview, mainly because I think Windows has currently Windows has two ways in which it delivers apps and distributes. So we have the normal Win32, which is basically the previous apps. I don't know if I can share any app. For example, this Google runs as a Win32 application, which means it can be run up to Windows 7 and backwards compatibility. The second way Windows renders distributes their apps is using the Universal Windows platform, which are mostly the apps on Windows, the Microsoft Store. So basically, apps found on the Microsoft Store are Universal Windows platform apps, and a good example of this app is your phone app on your Windows PC if you're using Windows. The email, the Outlook, the Skype. Many apps are moving to the UWP because it's the feature of Windows, and yeah, it will allow the Windows to run on multiple instructions that go. So Windows, Google were working with Windows into providing support to Flutter for both the Win32, the Universal Windows platform. So I think that's what's delaying Flutter on Windows, but you can still experiment with it, and as you'll see in a future demo from this call. So today we'll be talking about Flutter for desktop mostly, because that's what I think has not been covered through our webinars. We had a session with a person from the Google team who talked about Flutter for web. So today we'll be talking about Flutter for desktop, mostly because it hasn't been touched, and I think it's an interesting thing to experiment on, and it's going to be a big feature of Flutter. So when it comes, so let's just take a look at it. So the same way Flutter is rendered on Android and iOS is the same way Flutter will be rendered on Windows and Linux and macOS. As you can see in the Android, you have this main activity, which runs the main thread of the app. Inside the main activity, the Flutter is provided with the canvas, or like a space where it will be able to draw its widgets, and that's where it will render all the widgets. And that's the same for Windows. The Windows framework will provide Flutter with the canvas where Flutter will draw its widgets and render its UI. And yeah, that's basically it. But remember, guys, that as I told you earlier, that Flutter for desktop is still anything that's Flutter anything other than Flutter on anything other than Android and iOS are still not yet stable. So it's not advisable to do anything that goes into production with it. But you can do it at your own risk, of course. Yeah. So the plugin support, since last year, since they released Flutter for macOS, they pushed it into alpha. We have seen several plugins joining the party. We have the one famous plugins like the URL launcher, the shared preferences, and the path providers have been moved to desktop also. They have support for desktop, Windows and Linux and macOS. I think that paves way. That paves way in knowing what Flutter will be able to do in the desktop part. So I think onto the demo session. I'll just quickly demonstrate a few apps which have just been converted from the I'm just running the mobile apps, the mobile versions of the app. It was designed for Android and iOS, but I'm running it on desktop so that you guys can just get that feel of what's to come. And yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna show you. So on to my Visual Studio Code. First of all, we have the Flutter Gallery app. I think that's an app most of you have interacted with. It's an app made by the Flutter team, which is just used to showcase mostly the UI parts of the Flutter, the UI strengths of Flutter. And so for this demo, as you can see here, I'm using the Flutter SDK, the stable version 1.7.5, 1.17.5. But since Flutter for Windows is not supported on the Flutter stable channel, I'll be using this feature. It's called FBM Flutter. Is a simple CLI utility that helps you quickly switch between versions. It's called Flutter Version Management. It helps with the need for consistent builds, allowing to reference Flutter SDK version based on per project basis. So you can use this tool to quickly switch between SDKs. For example, if you want to use a specific SDK while you have multiple SDKs installed in your system. So on to back to our Visual Studio Code, we have the Flutter Gallery. I'll just quickly run Flutter Doctor. As you can see, I'm putting the prefix FBM for the Flutter command because I don't want to use the Flutter stable channel that's shown here below. So let's just run it. You can see the number of devices that's available. Yeah, I think it's taking quite long, but yeah. Let me just show you guys what I had built earlier. Flutter Gallery. Okay, it's not going to be working for now. Let me quickly switch to another app so that I can, another app that I tried it out earlier, that you guys can quickly test. You can quickly see what's happening. Just give me a few minutes. Yeah, so as I had shown you in this this slide, this slide 11, I had told you guys that plugin support is also supported on Flutter for desktop, so all developers can be able to make the path they're using to their new apps, desktop apps. For example, the URL launcher, the shared preferences, the path provider. And as you can see, we have this app which is running fully natively on Windows. And yeah, I hope you guys are excited to see what's possible. So what I'm going to show you today is just the URL launcher package at work. I'm not going to go into the code, but I'm just going to show you at work, working from a Windows environment, not from an Android or iOS environment or web. And the path provider, that's what I'm going to show you today. So as you can see, the app is performing very well. As I click, the numbers incrementing. And I think it's just an example of the counter app that you get once you start building the first app, Flutter. So let's test URL launcher, file path provider, so that we can just open a file and it will display the path of the file, which can be used anywhere in the app. So when I click open, as you can see, it gives me, it opens the default file chooser for the Windows. You can pick any file. For example, I can come here and pick this image, and it will show us an buffer there, a path for the file, which can be used anywhere in the file, in the app. And you can also open media, for example, videos and pictures and music. You can also open text files, and onto the URL launcher, you can open GitHub. It's just a link that you can click, it will open the browser to the link up. So just showing the plugin support that is very possible in Flutter for desktop. And yeah, man, hope you guys are excited for this. And yeah, so let me close this demo. Let me go to the Flutter gallery. Just close this project. I think from this you'll be able to judge and see how Flutter really is. So let's run the same command, Flutter run dwindows. So as it's building, yeah, I hope most of you guys have interacted with Flutter gallery. I think it's a very nice application. Personally, I have copied a few UIs from the app in some personal projects and some client projects. Yeah, it's very nice. So as we wait for it to build, okay, it's done. So as all of you have seen, as seen on the screen, we have this Flutter Gallery app running natively on Windows. As you can see, it looks very nice. The UI looks okay. It's responsive. Just to give you an idea of how responsive it is, let me just try to resize it. And as I'm resizing the window, so you can see like the app really changes its structure, you know? to a more mobile friendly or touch friendly interface. And when I maximize it, boom, desktop. Like, it looks nice. All the widgets from the Flutter are also responsive from the original Flutter SDK. The material widgets, the Cupertino widgets. Let me do an example of a date picker. Where is a date picker? Okay, can just check a date picker and just see how it appears. Okay, pickers. So as you can see, this is a date picker, and it's very responsive also. All the underlying widgets from the Flutter SDK are designed to be responsive. So regardless of the screen size, regardless of the screen aspect ratio, be it a wide display or a tall display, the Flutter widget will render itself responsively. As you can see, once I reduce the width of the desktop app into a more mobile friendly size, that tall display, see the date picker changes in size and alignment. And once it reaches a certain width, it knows this is a desktop, this is a wide screen, and it renders the widget accordingly. Also, all Cupertino widgets are available in the app. They're shown very well. A lot with title, you can use all this. The vast amount of widgets from the Flutter SDK, you can use it in the Flutter for desktop, Flutter for Windows. And remember, as I told you guys, Flutter on Windows is still in. I know most of you guys are getting ideas that, hey, now I can build a desktop app in Windows. It's still in technical preview. I just here to appreciate what the Flutter team are doing and what they're working on. This is their work in progress as per now. You can also get a view, an idea of how the animations work. Flutter. They are very nice. They are very responsive as they are on mobile. Yeah, that's basically it for the demo. And let's choose an app from this list. Well, this starter app, which is just a starter app that you can use to create your own responsive screen, responsive style. Basically, most apps are built using this style. You have this drawer, and yeah, the actions on the app bar. And basically, once the screen size is wide or is not tall like the mobile device, I think the drawer needs not to be hidden, and the app bar kind of widens a little bit. The floating action button, everything. Take out the crane app from the Flutter SDK. This is basically a travel app. Yeah, just created to show you guys, to show people how Flutter can be used design-wise. As you can see, once I minimize or I reduce the size, the width of the window, it really becomes responsive. As you can see, the selectors up here. Once it becomes a full desktop app, like a full desktop experience, they both switch into the left side, and these cards here arrange themselves in a more desktop-friendly way. Frame, yeah, also very responsive, and yeah, you really don't need to write any responsive code for the app. Just the app that was written for mobile, just putting them on desktop and just running them. That's how they appear, straight out of the box. Let's go back. Yeah, so that's basically it. What we wanted to show you guys, the demo. Flutter for web also works the same way. The only thing is Flutter for web compiles with JavaScript first so that it may run on the browser. And yeah, so after the demo, I was to talk about any future possibilities of Flutter. What can be done using the strength of Flutter? What I think can be done using the strength that Flutter has shown over the few years it has been available, and just by looking at the demo for now. In my own thinking, as you have seen, most cars, most modern vehicles usually have this dashboard, like an interface, which where the users can be able to interact with the cars. Cars these days have become more smart. A good example is the Tesla cars, and yeah, many modern vehicles have like a screen where the user can be able to interact with the car digitally. I think Flutter can be a great tool in the future, maybe in future versions of Flutter, maybe when you get to Flutter version 2.0 or Flutter version 3.0, we can be able to see it. I think also BMW have also been experimenting with it by using Flutter to design the dashboard screens for their cars. Yeah, and ATM screens. I think if you have used an ATM mostly in our country, they normally don't have that nice user interface. Yeah, but you can get it because they only serve one purpose, getting money, so they have to be direct. But I think Flutter can be able to power the ATM screens in the future. It can be able to power TV apps and basically anything on the screen. As if you have done rounds over the internet, maybe mostly about Flutter, you have seen that several people have been experimenting with it with many devices, including the Raspberry Pi, with the screens, and basically what's the possibilities are endless with Flutter, especially in the UI side, providing that interface for the users to interact. Yeah, and UI is a very key part in software design because many users judge an app by looking at the UI, judge a system by looking at the UI. Yeah, many users. And, yeah. So guys, that's basically it for me. I'll invite any one of you if any one of you with a question, maybe I can help you answer it, or maybe other people from the call can also participate in answering the question. Thank you. I invite anyone with a question. You can just unmute your microphone and yeah, and share your questions so that we try to answer you. May get it cleared.
Thank you so much, Sam, for the presentation. We welcome any questions, guys. If you feel like you haven't understood anything that Sam was speaking about, please feel free to ask the question. So at least you don't come to a meeting and then you end up not understanding something.
Yeah, I invite any question from. Okay, if there's no question from the members, I think I'll just call it a wrap. And yeah, back to you, Candy.
Okay. So since we don't have much questions, I hope everybody is content with what Sam was talking about, and you have learned or you have gained something that you probably didn't know. Um, yes. Thank you, thank you guys for attending this session. Danvik, can you please take over, maybe to end the session?